Good morning and welcome to the fellowship on this beautiful spring day. Maybe only the last gasp of winter. And I forgot my reading glasses, so I'm going to be going pretty slowly. Sorry. My name is Jeff White, and I serve on your fellowship board of directors. I want to thank everybody for being here and extend a special welcome to visitors, people we don't see very often. This is a really good turnout for the snowy morning. If you'd like more information about the fellowship, you can check at the visitors table in the fireplace room, or you can look at the virtual guest book at uufames/guestbook.org/guestbook on the internet. And whether you're joining us from home or here in Fellowship Hall, we invite you to stay after the service for coffee and fellowship, and you can introduce yourself and join in conversation, see what's going on in the world. Some announcements. For those wishing to attend the concert benefiting Good Neighbors Emergency Assistance, it's being held at 2 o'clock today at the Collegiate United Methodist Church. And this annual event brings together choral ensembles from several different area churches to support the work of Good Neighbor. And this year features the Mare Requiem Mass. Oh, Friday. Thank you. The final bylaws question and answer session is this Wednesday at 7. And if you have any questions or concerns about the proposed changes, please come and talk with members of the board. Our special congregation meeting is next Sunday, so please be sure to come. We'll have a shortened service at 10 and a meeting at 11 to appoint our ministerial search committee and approve some bylaws. Some updates to the bylaws. The meeting will be followed by a soup lunch with the Committee on Shared Ministry, so please come and participate in the work of the people. So, on behalf of this caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to the sacred space. Here we invite you to an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, connections. I hope this will inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
Our opening words this morning are from Reverend Gretchen Healy. There's nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No right beliefs or proof of citizenship, no eternal optimism or clarity of conviction, no boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve that problem that you are turning over and over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid and your checkbook can be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night. Your hearing aids may not be working or your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in this circle where grace meets us and where we are, but does not leave us as it found us. Where love resides in each of us and yet is somehow more than all. Where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us and this day anew once again. We light our chalice this morning. And will you remain seated now in body or spirit for our opening hymn, 1037. And this is a responsive litany. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause.
For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone.
For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit.
For losing sight of our unity.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which we have fueled the illusion of separateness.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and I'm the nursery head here at the fellowship. I'm going to be reading an awesome book that was written by LeBron James that is titled I Promise. I promise to work hard and do what's right, to be a leader in this game of life. I promise to go to school and read as much as I can, to follow the rules and respect the game plan. I promise to run full court and show up each time, to get right back up. I promise to be open and try new things, and enjoy the happy that change can bring. I promise to wear a big smile and use kindness when I speak, to remain strong yet humble with every win and defeat. I promise to ask for help whenever I need it, to reach for my star even when I can't see it. I promise to ask questions and find answers, to believe in next time and second chances. I promise to use my voice and stand up for what's right, and when things get tough, to keep up the fight. I promise to stand tall, rise up, and give all that I've got, to throw the alley-oop and uplift others on the spot. I promise to respect my elders and peers the same, to leave new places better than I came. I promise to stay true, keep my head up, and never give up, no matter what. I promise to dream big and love bigger, to be a team player and a winner. I promise to cross bridges and break down walls, to rise with the sun and learn from the falls. I promise to be courageous, to be free, to strive for greatness. I promise to be me. And that is the end of the book. So we'll sing the children off to their classes.
Will you join me now in a time of prayer and meditation? And our prayer this morning comes from Reverend Teresa Soto. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way of the world of which we dream, and by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. May it be so, and amen.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connections, a spiritual community where we find meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. It's a tradition in our fellowship in this community to take this moment to share our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support we have for each other in this community. It is a time of sharing and not a time for announcements. For those in the fellowship hall, if you would come forward to the microphone, state your name and your milestone, I'll light a candle for you, and then we'll go on to the folks who are joining us via Zoom. To be enriching the experience for those online, and I guess we're still working out some kinks. And we'll make a large conflagration up here. I'll light one last candle for those milestones that are left unspoken, those that we hold dearly in our hearts, remembering those who have been named and those who are in our thoughts in the days and weeks ahead. Let's have a moment of silence.
Our reading this morning is from Things Commonly Believed Among Us, from the Epic of Unitarianism, compiled by David Park. At the meeting of the Western Unitarian Conference in Chicago in 1887, the Reverend William Channing Gannett proposed a doctrinal compromise in a statement entitled Things Commonly Believed Among Us.
He introduced it on the condition that it was not binding on a single member, the statement being always open to restatement and to be regarded only as the thought of a majority.
Gannett had struck to the root of the controversy. Neither side felt secure in its freedom. The Christians feared a conspiracy to deprive them of God and Jesus. The liberals feared every move that suggested a uniformity of belief. Remove the thread of deprivation and coercion, and where was the disagreement?
The difference is the smallest that ever kept men apart, who belong together, said one minister afterward.
Things Commonly Believed Among Us was adopted 59-13. It paved the way for an eventual reconciliation in the Western Conference in 1894 and represents Unitarianism at its best. And now, the words of W.C. Gannett.
The Western Conference has neither the wish nor the right to bind a single member by declarations concerning fellowship or doctrine. Yet it thinks some practical good may be done by setting forth in simple words the things most commonly believed among us, the statement being always open to restatement and to be regarded only as the thought of the majority.
All names that divide religion are to us of little consequence compared with religion itself. Whoever loves truth and lives the good is, in a broad sense, of our religious fellowship. Whoever loves the one or lives the other better than ourselves is our teacher, whatever church or age he may belong to.
The general faith is hinted well in words which several of our churches have adopted for their covenant. In the freedom of truth and the Spirit of Jesus Christ, we unite for the worship of God and the service of man. It is hinted in such words as these: Unitarianism is religion of love to God and love to man. Because we have no creed which we impose as a condition of fellowship, specific statements of belief abound among us, always somewhat differing, always largely agreeing. One such we offer here.
We believe that to love the good and to live the good is the supreme thing in religion.
We hold reason and conscience to be the final authorities in matters of religious belief.
We honor the Bible and all inspiring scripture, old and new.
We revere Jesus and all holy souls that have taught men truth and righteousness and love as prophets of religion.
We believe in the growing nobility of man.
We trust the unfolding universe as beautiful, beneficent, unchanging order. To know this order is truth. To obey it is right and liberty and stronger life.
We believe that good and evil invariably carry their own recompense. No good thing being failure and no evil thing being success. That heaven and hell are states of being. That no evil can befall the good man in either life or death. that all things work together for the victory of good.
We believe that we ought to join hands and work to make the good things better and the worst good. Counting nothing good for self is not good for all.
We believe that this self-forgetting, loyal life awakes in man the sense of union here and now with things eternal, the sense of deathlessness, and this sense is to us an earnest of the life to come.
We worship, one and all, that life whence suns and stars derive their orbits, and the souls of man its ought. That light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, giving us power to become the sons of God. That love with which our souls commune. We'll now give and receive our offering. And please know this morning that half the non-pledge offering will be donated to the Ames Community School District's Hope Pantry, as selected by our high school youth group. This resource is available to all students across the entire district, providing food and clothing donations to those in need. So it's helping the needy students in our district. Recipients of the pantry also connect with student and family advocates, gaining access to other community resources. The other half of our offering will support programs here in the fellowship that make this a community of transformation. We'll pass the baskets here in the fellowship hall, and for those at home, you can visit uufames.org to give your contribution today. And if you're visiting, your presence is gift enough.
We're going to play a piece for you today that is played in memory of Kathy Logston, who is a woman who was with our group for several years until her cancer treatment stopped keeping her. She lived in Des Moines, so she drove all the way up here. And she stayed with us as long as she could. And while she was still joining our group, in the summer of 2019, she made a request. This was just a couple of months after the terrible fire for the magnificent Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. And she asked our member, Bill Robinson, to write a piece commemorating that experience and its rebuilding. And so we're going to play that for you now.
Thank you, recorders, wherever you come from, even Des Moines. Good morning, Central Iowa and beyond. My name is Reverend A.J. Galazin. I'm your interim minister. My pronouns are he and his. It's good to see you all this morning. The fourth Sunday of each month, which is today, is Social Justice Sunday. And our Social Justice Circle meets after the service at 11:15 in room 3 and on a special Zoom link that you can find on the website. UUFA members are active and involved with many great programs that help the larger community. And once a month, we gather to share news and ideas and invite others to join the work. No experience necessary. And today we have a special project. We will be writing letters to our senators and representatives in support of ending domestic and world hunger in the next farm bill. And both Iowa senators are on the Ag Committee. Reverend Russ Melby from Bethesda Lutheran has invited UUFA to help, so please join us today. Today is the third meeting of our UU Common Read group. We're studying Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism. We're discussing chapter 3 today, and even if you haven't been reading along, you are invited to join the conversation today at 2 o'clock on Zoom and in person in room 3. Next Saturday, April 1st, is the second annual Central Iowa Trans Lives Festival at the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. It's a full-day event in honor of International Transgender Day of Visibility, and this event is free and open to the public. And please don't forget, next Sunday, April 2nd, we'll have a shortened intergenerational service followed by a congregational meeting to elect the search committee members and revise bylaws, followed by a soup lunch and conversation on shared ministry. Everyone say soup lunch. Soup lunch. Yeah, okay. This morning we come to the close of our February theme of vulnerability. We began with Dan Hogg sharing bird songs and stories of survival and extinction and the need to manage our own mucus. That's a direct quote. Manage our own mucus. Thank you, Dan. We welcomed a guest seminarian who shared a message of doubt and resilience by invoking Jesus and Superman. And last week, Irv Kloss reflected on taking ethical care of this precious land, inspired by the work of Aldo Leopold. Today, I want to focus on spiritual vulnerability. The idea that it is okay not to have all the answers, okay? It's okay not to have all the answers, but we can still take action anyway. I once lived in a townhouse that allowed dogs. Everyone who owned a dog was required to sign a letter of understanding, upholding the principles of good dog ownership. Things like keeping your dog on a leash, not letting them bark constantly or scare children, cleaning up after them, and being considerate to your neighbors. Standard boilerplate stuff. One day I noticed there was a little doggy gift left on my front lawn. I was mildly perturbed, but since the rest of the complex looked so clean, I just scooped up the pile, threw it away, thinking it may have been a traveler from another neighborhood out on a walk. No one in my community would disrespect the principles of cleaning up after themselves, would they? Now, I've been a dog owner for more than 30 years, so I know a thing or two about dog training and proper care. But at this particular place, I only had my dog visit occasionally, and he wasn't with me then. Then a week later, I received an email from the management warning all dog owners to clean up after their dogs or else. There had been a string of messy deposits all over the place. and people were getting their hackles in a bunch. My level of concern was rising. Although I was completely innocent, I understood that this kind of anonymous disdain of civility could paint all canine companions with that same broad brush. And to add insult, the complex provided a beautiful dog run right across the street with doggy bag dispensers, disposal cans, and there was absolutely no excuse for impropriety. And things did seem to improve for a while, but one evening I happened to look out my window and I saw one of my neighbors walking a dog. So far, so good. Then the dog stopped on the lawn by my sidewalk. Okay, that's fine. Then the dog started doing something. Still okay. But then the owner scraped his boot along the ground and covered the droppings with snow and started walking away. Not okay. My own hackles raised to a fever pitch, and I said to myself, and pardon my French, I said, "Oh, hell no." And that's actually not French. I actually learned that in Texas. And it's spelled H-A-I-L-N-O, hail no. And that's my favorite phrase in the Texan dialect. Within a moment, I was outside, letting the guy know that he had been caught, asking him what he was going to do about it. As you might imagine, he was like a deer caught in the headlights. While his very cute golden retriever was wagging her tail at me, wanting nothing but love. He mumbled some incoherent rationalization, but I just said, "Pick it up." To my surprise, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a fresh doggy bag. He had one ready all the time. At that point, we parted ways, but the story was no longer a mystery. Our mysterious faith of Unitarian Universalism requires no creed. That's easy to say, but it hasn't stopped us from trying to describe the ideals that keep us together. Through many controversies and challenges in our history, our ancestors remained committed to the mission that the unity of our human fellowship was more important than any doctrinal or semantic differences. Amen. And despite our overarching distrust of creeping creedalism, which is the undue insistence upon statements of belief, we understand that these abstract concepts of faith need to be put into words somehow, and to which I would add as purely and simply as possible. We need to remember that our current UU principles did not come down on stone tablets from Mount Sinai. They were the creation of hard-working committees and delegates to the General Assembly, our annual gathering of congregations. The principles were adopted in 1985. They were not our first set of guidelines, nor will they be the last. Our reading this morning, Things Commonly Believed Among Us, is a classic example of Unitarians committing to unity with diversity. Before Reverend William Channing Gannett served the Western Unitarian Conference. He was pastor of Unity Church Unitarian in St. Paul, Minnesota. And my dear mentor, the late Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs, was also a pastor of Unity Church and a UU historian. I attended Unity Church for many years, and I feel a kinship with Gannett. And I echo his theology when he says, all names that divide religion are to us of little consequence compared with religion itself. Whoever loves truth and who lives the good is, in a broad sense, of our religious fellowship, whatever church or age he may belong to. And two of Gannett's passages from the 1887 document still speak to me today in their original form. That we hold reason and conscience to be the final authorities in matters of religious belief, and that we believe we ought to join hands and work to make the good things better and the worst things good, counting nothing good for myself that is not good for all, close quote. We are approaching another time of transition, a time to review our purposes, our values, and our covenants. Revising the Unitarian Universalist principles has historically been a grassroots process where individuals and groups propose changes based on their understanding of how existing language, some of the language we heard in the reading is no longer existing language, is it? But how existing language expresses who they are and the values they hold. For the past 2 years, the Article 2 Study Commission engaged thousands of UUs in theological reflection and thoughtful discernment about what is at the heart of our living tradition. And the passionate responses they received indicate important consensus about what it means to be a UU. They integrated this feedback into their proposed revision of Article 2. And delegates from Unitarian Universalist congregations will vote on this revised language for Article 2 at our General Assembly this June. Congregations are encouraged to coordinate with their delegates to ensure that the votes they cast reflect the congregation's wishes. And this is the symbol of this new proposal. It is, again, it is right now just in the discussion phase, and we're going to be talking more about this over the next few months. But it is important that this fellowship empower your delegates to vote at the General Assembly in Pittsburgh in June. Jamie and I will both be there, and let us know if you are interested in becoming a delegate. My experience with Doggy Doo-Doo gave me a fresh perspective on the difference between a principle and a covenant. Principles are grand, optimistic, aspirational statements. They are important, and who can argue with them? Here at Pleasant View Acres, we honor the earth by picking up after our pets and loving our canine neighbors as ourselves. Sign on the dotted line. But covenant is much more personal. It's a promise that we make that requires due diligence. A promise not only to ourselves, but to each other. And when a promise is broken, it's not always easy to heal. The covenant needs to be renegotiated. Trust is the currency of the covenant. Where the principle may be signed in ink, the covenant is signed with love. That's why love is in the middle here. When Unitarian Universalists started focusing more on covenants instead of principles, something interesting started happening. We've learned that it's less about perfection and more about performance. Principles seem to be always just outside our reach, while covenants are right next door, or even in our own front yard. And before I get too comfortable playing the hero in my story, the one who caught someone in the act of betraying a covenant, I need to consider an important fact. When a covenant is broken, it's not up to the breaker to fix it. It's the responsibility of everyone involved to come together and repair the relationship. This is not a blame game. I have broken covenants, but we are in this covenant together. When someone breaks the covenant and no one calls them out, then we are all responsible for a broken covenant. It becomes everyone's problem. One of the things that gets my theological hackles up is when some critic or outsider, or sometimes even a fellow UU says, Unitarian Universalists can believe anything they want. And to that statement, I reply, oh, hell no. Yes, if you're an island unto yourself, yes, you can believe anything you want. But no, if you are a member of this beloved community, this covenanted community, with a long history of meeting the moment and growing and changing with the times, then you are accountable for sharing both the struggle and the power. And no, you cannot just drop a pile of stuff on my front lawn and call it freedom of religion. In my own doggy story, I later felt sorry for the person I surprised. I wondered if I was too harsh. I worried if my method was counterproductive or if I had made my point. A few weeks later, I ran into the man and his dog. He graciously apologized. He thanked me for calling him out. And then he walked over to the dog run. Our covenant was restored. Your assignment this week, should you choose to accept it, is to ask yourself, if you have principles, how do you put your principles into action? If you have covenants, how are you held accountable to keeping your promises? And if you have a statement of belief, how have the words you use changed based upon your lived experience? May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may your path be free of puppy puddles. May it be so, and amen. And would you rise now in body or spirit For our closing hymn, number 93, with words by William Blake, To Mercy, Pity, Peace, and Love. Our closing words are from Eric Williams. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. And truly blessed is the gift that you will become on this journey. May you go forth in peace.